Hey guys, Coach Jason, welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. So there are four things that should be in your training program every week. And I want to go over them today. Now, how much you do of it, when you do it, and so on is completely up to you. And it also depends on at what point in a training cycle or season you're in, whether you're in preseason, base, or competitive season, or approaching, and so on. So the layout can be differently as the season progresses because the emphasis in certain weeks are going to be a little bit different. Every couple of weeks there'll be a modification, or should be a modification for adaptation or periodization purposes. So let's go over the four things. Okay, number one, speed development. Okay, now this doesn't necessarily mean all out 200s or all out 400s and so on and so forth. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean that. Speed development should be an all year thing. Okay, so if you're in your base phase and you're just putting in miles, and let's say it is summer, right? And you have 10 weeks to do it. You know, the way I do with my athletes is I have them run 4 weeks of kind of get up to the volume that they want to get to, goal volume over a 4-week period, level it off, and then start incorporating strides. And 50-meter strides twice a week. So let's say 5 by 50-meter strides on a Tuesday, and 5 by 50-meter strides on a Friday, let's say. And then you do that a second week, and then you bump it up to 5 times 100 twice per week for the next 2 weeks, and then the 2 weeks after that, you can do 5 times 100 and 5 times 150 Tuesday and Fridays, or 5 times 100 uphill on Tuesday, 5 times 100 on the flats on Friday. So there's a whole bunch of different ways, but the idea behind it is to incorporate speed development no matter where you're at. Even if you're in competitive mode, race mode, competitive season, there'll still be runs where you get some strides in. That's basic speed development, and it should happen all year. Whether you're a middle distance runner or a long distance runner. If you're a marathon, speed development is great to help you become more efficient with your stride. Helps you develop leg power, stride cadence, efficiency, leg speed. And again, the longer the races get, the more efficient your stride should be. Energy preservation becomes that much more important as you start running half marathon and marathon and so on. So you want to be as efficient as possible. Speed development kind of helps that. And and again, like I said, it doesn't have to be all out stuff. And again, part of speed development too is continuing building your aerobic foundation. You're building speed from strength as well. Okay, so it doesn't always have to be super fast running, but specifically strides, quick strides for turnover. Okay, a combination of maybe some uphill and flat. Once you get to that point, sets you up nicely to transition into more intense bouts of work. Number two, hill variety. Okay, now there's a lot of different things you can do here. So let's say hill repeats. Let's say VO2 max hill repeats. Okay, 30 seconds uphill hard. You're jogging back down easy. Okay, it'll take a little bit more than 30 seconds, probably, but the idea is to go up and back, to have virtually equal bouts, or equal amounts of time for rest and effort. So 30 seconds uphill. Let's say you're doing 8 to 10 reps. That's a workout. Okay, after a warm-up and before a cool-down. The same thing goes for 60-second runs. Okay, 60 seconds on a gradual hill, jog back down nice and easy. Ideally staying upright, leaning into the hill. Okay, so if you're upright like this, leaning into the hill, running, okay, trying to use the same cadence that you use on the flats. You'll obviously be running slower, but this is also a way of building leg power, but in a less invasive way, and in a way that you're at less risk for potential injury of the hamstrings and your calves and your hips and so on and so forth. So that's another way of doing hill repeats. And keep in mind too, if it's a short hill, like a 30, 40, 50 meter, those are the steeper ones. If they're longer, 150, 200, 300, 400, those are the long gradual ones, okay? Now, that's hill repeats. Hill running could also be hilly fartleks, okay? Speed play, you're doing a rolling run. That can be used as a great workout, and you can use that same, let's say you're doing 8 to 10 minutes by 8 to 10 by 1 minute hard and 1 minute easy during a run. That's a fartlek, okay? And you can be doing on a cross-country course where some of the hills are steep, some of the hills are gradual, some of them are downhills. It's a combination of things. It's rhythm running, but it also teaches you how to not have to always rely on the stopwatch or the track or how far am I going? Am I getting this far? And so on and so forth. So learning about your body is an important component too. This is a great way to incorporate hills in doing it. Okay, so now you have hill running, you have hill repeats and hill sprints, you have a hilly fartlek. You can also do a hilly long run. Okay, and this is great too. And keep in mind too, is obviously if you have hills available to you, some folks live in areas that are mostly flat, so you make some modifications there. But if you have hills available, I definitely encourage you to do it. Okay, hilly long run too. Okay, it's a great way of building strength, particularly when you want to use that as a workout and then do some type of other workout earlier in the week. That's a way of doing it as well. And hilly long runs are a great way of simulating not only cross-country courses, but if you're going to run a half marathon or a marathon that's rolling, this is a great way to simulate it without having to tax your body with really, really, really hard, intense workouts. These are going to be challenging runs, of course, but this is a creative way to incorporate hills within your running. And it can just be at a rolling pace. Get used to the fluctuation in pace, because that's what hilly courses, for the most part, do. It's much more difficult to maintain even pace over rolling hills than it is on the flats. That's obvious, but it's still a very important component of training. Okay, and again, whether you're high school, college, running club, it doesn't matter. If you can do a rolling fartlek workout or a rolling long one, and you incorporate, even alternate 1 week, rolling fartlek 1 week, hill repeats the following week, rolling long run the following week, and you have a nice 3-week cycle, and then you can repeat and try to improve, and try to go either a little bit longer or a little bit faster. It's up to you, but that's a cycle that you can incorporate hills and be creative with it. So number 3 is the long run. I kind of incorporated it already, but it's an important component of continually building your aerobic foundation, that aerobic strength. Okay, this is obviously once you get up to a decent volume, it should be about 20% of your weekly volume. So if you're running 50 miles a week, it should be 10. If you're running 60, it should be 12. If you're running 70, it should be 14. If you're running 80, it should be 16, and so on. Some folks go a little bit longer than 20%, but it depends on their ability, what they're training for, and how well they recover from it on the flip side. Okay, but now you can sequence it in such a way where let's say you do a long run on Saturday, and let's say it's a rolling long run. Okay, so it's a challenging long run. You might need a couple days, so you can come back on a Tuesday and do short and fast stuff. Put the zip back in your legs. Okay, that's a great way of sequencing. After a hard long run, you do something short and sweet in the following week as the first workout. Okay, so long runs. Again, steady pace, comfortable, relaxed pace, flat and rolling, combination of the two. If you have the ability to get on softer surfaces, I highly recommend it. Okay, but this should be a staple of your training, an absolute staple. Okay, and last but not least, number 4, VO2 max, tempo, threshold, a combination of them. So VO2 max is generally a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. So, and I generally don't have folks going anywhere longer than 3 to 4 minute efforts there. So I have anytime I'm training for somebody for a marathon, and I train a lot of folks for the marathon. That's the only time I'll have folks do VO2 max mile repeats, and I'll only have them do about 5 of them. So they're about a minute, 50 to 60 seconds faster per mile than your goal marathon pace. So if the goal is 3:30, which is 8 minutes per mile, you're running 5 times a mile in like 7 minutes to 7:10. So it's an intense workout. And you have about a 5-minute to 6-minute or 7-minute recovery in between each one. And that's the whole point of it, to keep it VO2 max. That's the only time I do mile repeats, is when folks are training for the marathon. Otherwise, I keep them at 3-minute efforts and no more than 4-minute efforts with equal recovery. Okay, that's the VO2 max component. It's a hard bout of running. Okay, tempo runs. Again, it could be at half marathon pace. It could be an anaerobic threshold run, which is 15, 20, maybe 25 minutes. Continual running. You have the aerobic threshold, which is a little slower, which is then you're looking at half marathon pace, about 30 to 60 minutes in duration. So there's a combination of things. Okay, and again, going back to speed development, you can tack some speed development at the end of a tempo run. Okay, as a way of incorporating something else into the workout. Let's say you did a 20-minute tempo or a 4-mile tempo, and you take a 4 or 5-minute active recovery, and then you throw some 150-meter efforts at the back end of it, 4 times 150 with a walk equal jog or jog equal recovery. Now you're sprinting when they're already fatigued from doing the tempo run. So you've incorporated speed and this tempo and threshold. And obviously threshold components, anaerobic threshold, let's say, they're at about 10 seconds per mile faster than your anaerobic threshold continuous run. Okay, so let's say you're doing an anaerobic threshold 20-minute run or 4-mile run at 5:20 pace. Okay, the anaerobic threshold workout for that broken into pieces would be about 6 times 1,000, approximately 4 miles, a little bit less. And you're running those at 5:10 per mile pace. So slightly faster because they're broken up into pieces. Anytime you do anaerobic threshold thousands, you take a minute recovery, 1,200 meters efforts, about a 75-second recovery. Mile repeat efforts, about a 90-second recovery. If you can get to the point where you shorten the recovery as well, that's a good thing. But I generally will keep it the same pace until up to the mile, and then see if you have a performance or a time trial or a race to let your body know whether you're ready to start increasing your training intensity. But these are the 4 things that should be in your training, should be staples of your training every week. Now, if you're doing this 14-day training cycle, then you can start incorporating multi-pace training. And you'll see some 14-day cycles. I'll have them attached down below, where I do stuff at your tempo and half marathon pace, 5K, 3K, mile, and 800 pace. So you're addressing multiple paces, whether you're a middle distance or distance runner. And that's a really good way of setting you up for short-term and long-term success. But if you're training, if you're doing a 7-day cycle, these 4 things: speed development, your long run, okay, hill varieties, and VO2 max or tempo and threshold. Those should all be in your staple every week. And again, you can mix and match, okay? Let's say you run I'll just break it down. Let's say you have an easy day on Monday, okay? Then you do some hill variety or VO2 max hill running on Tuesday, then a recovery run on Thursday, a recovery run on Wednesday, like a longer recovery run, then a shorter recovery run on Thursday, and then you come back Friday and you do 6 times, let's say 6 times 1,000 with a 1-minute recovery at your anaerobic threshold pace. And then on Saturday, you do your long run, okay? But if you're going to do threshold work on Friday, then your long run should be relaxed and easy, mostly flat on Saturday. And then on Sunday, either an easy day or an off day. That's kind of a way you can lay out training. If you do it over a 14-day cycle, I generally plug in an off day every 14 days for folks. For the more experienced folks, it's less often, but for the most part, an off day every 14 days allows you to kind of get everything that you need to get in. But these 4 things, I highly encourage you, if you're not doing them, incorporate them. Learn how to incorporate them, how much, how little, and so on. And if you have any questions about it, put them in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And I have been coaching folks from middle distance all the way up to the marathon for the last 2 decades. I'm a USATF certified coach and a former competitive runner at high school, college, and post-collegiate level as well. So I'm speaking from a lot of experience, and I want to share it with you, and I want to help you become a better coach or become a better runner. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I'm trying to get over 1,000 subscribers in the next month or 2. I'm approaching 900, so your help's greatly appreciated. And again, I want to share this with as many folks in the running community as possible. And always look in the description. I have a bunch of relevant or recent videos, and anytime I put out a new video, so for your enjoyment. And if you're going to watch any of my training programs, watch them from beginning to end, because I break it down day by day, week by week, month by month. I explain everything. That way you don't have to kind of figure things out. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.